Chris here with probably the best Android 11 flagship tablet that you can get at the time of this video for the price. So this is called the Xiaoxin Pad Pro, and globally it's known as the Lenovo P11 Pro, the 2021 model. So they've given it a spec bump, and it's definitely welcomed because the older model, the P11 Pro, still a very good tablet, only has a Snapdragon 730. This now has the 870. We have now UFS 3.1 storage, 128 gigabytes worth of it. Still the same 6 gigabytes of RAM, micro SD card support, and the screen has changed. So it's 11.5 inches, still the same 2560 by 1600 resolution. However, it's now a fast and smooth 90 Hertz. So this import model here I did get from a store called GizTop, and I do have, as you can see, the keyboard and the stylus, which I will be covering in this in-depth review. And inside the box of the Xiaoxin Pad Pro, you will find a 20-watt charger, our Type-C to Type-A cable. It has a good length to it, and it's a high-quality cable. And the build quality of the tablet is excellent. I would rate this as a premium tablet. It is really the same kind of build that you would get from the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, for example. So we have a bit of a matte finish here to the metal. Now this is alloy all around it. Now it is super thin. This is only 5.8 millimeters the thickness, and it only weighs around about 480 grams too, so very light. So we have a 5 megapixel ultra wide, 13 megapixel main camera, and here is a LED flash, and this is set into the metal here, the Lenovo branding, so you can't actually just remove that. Antenna line along the top. Around the outside, the bezels are only 8 millimeters, so very slim, and I think it's about 84% screen to body ratio, which is not bad at all. So up the top here, we've got two 8 megapixel cameras. Now one is for 3D, face unlocking for your biometrics, depth of field, and then the main one is just used as the camera there. Face unlocking does work really well on this, and we have a fingerprint reader on the side, which I will show you shortly, but just to demonstrate how it does unlock, so using my thumb that I've already scanned, it is quick, and I haven't really had any trouble with it at all. So it does have the biometrics there, fingerprint and face unlocking. And then looking at the top of it here, we've got two dual array microphones here, the antenna lines because of the alloy build that this has, metal buttons at the top. And again, look at how thin this is. This is crazy. It's only 5.8 millimeters. Where the camera protrudes, you can see it does stick out by an additional 3 millimeters there. But hey, it's not too bad at all. And just a premium build to this one. It feels great in hand. Down the bottom, we have the Pogo port pin connector there, and the little holes there for the stays for the keyboard, which I'll be showing you shortly, and the magnetic stand for this too as well that it has. Then our fingerprint reader, power button, another two JBL speakers here on the left, and our micro SD card slot. So I have tested this here, which is my 128 gigabyte micro SD card. It works fine in this. And this is our optional accessory too, which is the keyboard and the stand. Now I really do like this keyboard. I think it's better than the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus's keyboard. Typical Lenovo shaped keys, good travel to them, and they're not loud keys at all, and it feels very nice to type on this. My only complaint would be the arrow keys are a little small, and the backspace key here I wish was a little bit bigger as well. So there are a few little compromises in this area, but when you're doing most of your typing, and considering the fact that this is an 11.5 inch tablet, I think they've done really well. So it's a top keyboard, and the touchpad, not too bad. It is very, very small, but the finer movements I do find using with the cursor, as you can see now, it's okay, all right? It's not going to jump all over the place. It has a nice smooth finish to it, and pressing down there is a single mouse button there. So we've got our media shortcuts here at the top, brightness controls, and we've got to cut there, lock, and your notifications too. And the stand portion of it, so you get both halves, is very good. Made out of this high quality fabric, and the plastics used again high quality. Nice stiff hinge on this too, and you can go all the way back as so. And even when it's there, it doesn't tend to move around and no problem. Now, the magnets are very strong to hold that in place, so it's not going to just drop off. So it's not like the horrible solution we used to have previously, or you'd have to stick it onto the back of the tablet. No. Strong magnets. This is a rubberized finish to it, nice soft finish there, so it's not going to damage the tablet. And the back of the keyboard has that same fabric finish to it, which is quite resistant, and it doesn't really show up and damage. You can't scratch this, of course, so I do actually like this. So with the keyboard cover case, it is going to then be just under 1 kilo, the total weight, and the thickness now is around about 15 millimeters. And our screen. So the big change is we have now moved over to 90 Hertz. It's the same 11.5 inches, the same 2560 by 1600. And the move to go to 90 is a lot better. It's very, very smooth. And I'm not doing it justice recording here in only 30 frames per second. Of course, I would need to be recording in 90 or 120 frames per second so you could actually see how much smoother this really is. The screen is showing these lines here just on camera, by the way, okay? Something to do with the glass and the pin tile arrangement is causing this, okay, this analyzing effect, but trust me, in person, you do not see this. Now, a lot of people were criticizing my review of the previous model, saying, how can you say this screen is good? Because it's using pin tile arrangement, it's OLED. It is a decent screen. It's a very good screen. And if you look at it really close, yes, it does not look as sharp as an IPS panel and some of the other panels out there. Now, this screen's not as good as the Tab S7 Plus or the iPad Pros, no. But for the price point, I still think it's a very good screen. Now, maximum brightness on this one does top out to be 600 nits officially. I'm measuring around 588 nits, which is still very good. And I've even probably just got it a little bit too bright here at the moment. You can see again the lines there, but this I find to be good. Now, touch response on this particular panel is great. I'm not having any issues with it. It seems to be very responsive to touch. And again, the 90 Hertz is just definitely helping out here with the overall fluidity. Triggering gestures, another thing that is absolutely flawless, and I have not had any issues with it. So the tablet runs Android 11 ZUI 12.5 because this is the Chinese import model. Now, Google Play Store is not there originally, and you'd expect this being a Chinese version. And it's exactly the same as the P11 Pro, this model. Hardware-wise, exactly the same. It's just the software difference. Now, Google Play is here. It works fine. I just installed the APK file, the latest one, and away we go. Working, everything is fine. It has the Google framework. The Google Play Store framework was all part of the ROM built into it. And performance of this has been very good. So just multitasking has been very, very smooth, fluid, excellent, no noticeable lag stutters. The 90 Hertz is definitely helping. And of course, with the 6 gigabytes of RAM, it's actually enough. All right, 8 would have been, better, but 8, I think 6 is still okay with this one, considering it's a little bit cheaper. So save yourself a lot of money, get this model instead of getting the P11 Pro locally, which will probably cost a lot more. Anyway, that's what I would do. So here you can see toggle slightly different with the ZUI, and you can adjust the audio there, the brightness, and we've got PC mode. So PC mode is something that I really do like, and I use this a lot. So I'll just bring that up now. It's very quick to load. So it just does this little animation there, PC mode, and there we go. Allows us to run then our applications in Windows. Depending on our free available amount of RAM, that restricts on how many applications we can actually load, and app support too as well for this. So you can see that I'll just bring whatever up here. Now, GPS, wanted to point that out, that it does not have GPS support this model anymore, which is a slight annoyance, but I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for most people. So you can see that everything's going to be up and running here. You can minimize these various different applications as well. I'll run them in full screen if you wanted to do so. For example, in an app like, where are we? Sketch, Autodesk Sketchbook. So that doesn't want to be run in a little window. So it'll be full screen. You can minimize that. And so this is great for multitasking. To exit it, you simply just tap here and out of it, PC mode. And watch how quick this is. It's running in the background. So very, very fast there. When you first power on this tablet, you will be greeted with the following bloatware applications, which are just Chinese junk applications that aren't relevant to us, of course. So there's about 7 of them. Uninstall them, and then you don't see any Chinese whatsoever with the tablet. Oh, apart from the App Store notifications, which I've blocked. So they don't show up to me anymore. And I am on the latest firmware, so it does run Android 11 as mentioned. A security patch level is April this year. And this is now the Antutu score, so I'll just run through a few benchmarks with this tablet now. So Antutu, very, very strong performance here, as you'd expect for the Snapdragon 870. That is excellent. And the internal storage speeds, UFS 3.1 spec, so no slouch at all when it comes to performance. This is a huge step up, both the chipset and the storage speeds compared to the previous model. And that's one reason to go for it, and why it feels so quick. Now, Widevine Security Level 1 cert is present, okay? This is good. However, I'll get onto later on. It looks like Amazon it doesn't seem to actually run like in full HD. It seems to be more like a standard definition or just HD or low bitrate. Camera 2 API level 3 support. No GPS is mentioned. It does have a hardware compass on board though. And here we have good wireless speeds. Well, okay wireless speeds. For this chipset, I did actually expect this to be a little faster. It's not really going to bottleneck or hold the system up. It's just that with this chipset, I have been able to see, well, double this speed for maximum speeds, which tend to top out at 400 megabits per second. It's still okay. And this right here is a wildlife score, which is not bad at all. It's the Snapdragon 888 now that gets about 35 frames per second on average with this one. And the best thing too is that I ran it for the stress test. The stress test showed me that it did not throttle stability. Okay, it dropped 0.5%, which is nothing. And I've noticed this in games, that the thermals seem to be excellent because it's using the whole tablet back as a heatsink, and it just maintains that performance without any throttling whatsoever. So our battery life, 9 hours. This is running a looping benchmark here, and for 90 Hertz, that's actually okay. Not too bad. Now, I'm able to achieve around 10 hours or so screen on time out of this, depending on what you're doing, of course. If you drop it to 60 Hertz, then you'll be able to get around 11, 12 hours with your brightness, of course, not being super bright. Charge time here for the 8600 milliamp hour battery was 122 minutes, and that was charging at 20 watts. Now, YouTube runs just fine. Now, like any 16:9 aspect ratio content, you're going to have these borders, okay, top and bottom. Now, the maximum play quality, matching the screen almost, because it is 16:9, is 1440p. And I find that it is fine. It keeps up. Cache is fine. Looks good. But I'll give you a sample now of the audio too from these 4 JBL 6-watt speakers. They're quite good. Impressive, really, for a thin tablet like this. PDF files and ebooks, they look good on this tablet with this screen. And yes, when you zoom in very close, you will see that it's not as sharp as, say, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus or an iPad. Now, the PDF performance, this is a very large file here, is good, but it will not better an iPad, okay? An iPad is going to be faster than this. Ebooks also look great on this screen, and for this kind of use, I think the tablet is ideal because it is lightweight, so easy just to hold in one hand while you are reading. Now, a lot of people have asked before with the previous model, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Disney Plus. So we've got Widevine Level 1 Cert. You can see that. It's there, and it's listing HDR. This is a Dolby Vision screen as well. But when you actually run things like, for example, I'll go into Netflix, when you start to play, well, anything really, you'll notice in the beginning it's definitely standard definition, and then it builds up and the quality does improve. So I believe that Netflix, at least to my eyes, it looks like after I'm watching for about a minute or so, it's HD or it's 1080p. But what I've noticed that the data rates with Amazon Prime Video, for example, they seem to be quite low, and that is a little annoying there. So just bring that up, and you can see that the data rate very low here, only 0.46 gigabytes per hour with streaming. Now, the UI runs really fast and smooth and fluid and no problems with it. And when you first start it, the same thing happens, okay? You start it up and you look at it, and it's standard definition. Gaming performance, no surprise here with the Snapdragon 870 that it is very, very good. So this is Genshin Impact. It's a super demanding Android game, and I do test it out on mostly the phones because it's very, very taxing on resources. It pushes the chipsets really hard, and I'm shocked to see that on the maximum settings, Genshin Impact just runs so good. No problems, no major lags, occasionally a little stutter or two, but that even happens on the Snapdragon 888. Really immersive with the speakers, the nice large screen is great. And then other titles like PUBG. So with PUBG, you can run the Ultra HD texture pack, okay? And then you get the extreme frame rate, or the ultra frame rate, sorry. And if you run just, say, smooth HD or HDR, you get the extreme frame rate option, which is 60 frames per second. And the gameplay is great. It's very smooth. It's fluid, as expected. Now, the best part of this tablet when gaming, thermals. Thermals are excellent. As I showed with 3D Mark, this doesn't seem to throttle at all. It gets warm on the rear, but nothing alarming because the whole unibody of this tablet is basically one huge passive heatsink for this tablet. No review would be complete, of course, without the active stylus that this model supports. It's an optional extra, it's not included. So it does have the 2 buttons right here, rubber tip that you can change and replace. They include a spare, and it's called this here, the Precision Pen, okay, the Precision Pen 2. It works for various other Lenovo tech from them. So there's a rubber gasket right here, Type-C port to charge it. Palm rejection works about 1 centimeter away from this screen, and I will just jot something down right now to check on the handwriting performance here. So, hello, world, messy writing, yes I know, not too bad. Now the latency here with this app, which is Autodesk Sketch, I think it's called, very good. It's not bad, but it's no Apple Pencil, it's no S Pen, I've noticed that. So drawing straight lines, not a problem. You can sketch right up to the edges of the screen right there. And the pressure sensitivity, you can see just a little, pressing harder, harder, and harder. It does come through clearly. Pressure levels are working. It's not a bad stylus at all, but it will not beat an S Pen or the Apple Pencil. And this is a sample of what the cameras can do. Front-facing camera, 8 megapixels here, 1080p maximum. Yes, I'm outside, so the lighting is ideal here. It's very bright. And indoors, it's okay. It has a little bit of grain to it. Good quality microphones. And overall, I think for a tablet, that the quality you can get out of this is not bad at all. But it doesn't have electronic image stabilization. But you'd normally be sitting this on a table anyway, so I don't think that's a problem at all. I'll swap over now to the rear camera, that 13 megapixel one, so we can see how the video quality is for that. So again, no electronic image stabilization and only 1080p. And really, they could use better quality. I mean, they could give us 4K, they could even apply electronic image stabilization, and for 1080p quality, it's, yeah, I don't think it's that good. It's not amazing. Your phone will probably do better than this. So this tablet really does offer fantastic value for money, I think, if you're after a flagship grade Android 11 tablet. So Snapdragon 870, great performance. The UI is very fluid, super fast. And yes, if you get the import model, you are saving a lot of money, but you do have to install Google Play Store, and you've got like 7 apps in Chinese to remove. And that's basically it. It is not an issue. I thought I would have had more problems. Apart from there is that Li voice thing. That's the only thing that's there. Okay, but there will be a global firmware coming out soon from Lenovo, and like the previous model, we can just flash it over the top of this without any problems. So keyboard's great to type on, a very good screen. Now I know a lot of people were saying that the screen's poor without even seeing it, just saying that, oh, when you look at it, it looks blurry. Now the thing is, normal viewing distances, which would be like, for example, like that, okay? I think it looks absolutely fine. This is a good screen, deep blacks, the brightness is there. Now if you're of course looking at it like that, which is just crazy, then you notice, yeah, okay, it's not as sharp as an IPS panel. Now the kickstand on this one, just to show you that it goes all the way back like so, and pressing on it, if you press really hard, then the kickstand may drop down a little bit, but hey, that's quite good. So what about the cons? I mean, it can't all just be amazing, right? There has to be something. For me, it's, well, it's nitpicking really. It could have a magnet or a storage place to put the stylus if you were going to be getting that. There's no way to put it, okay? So that's just one very minor little thing. A lot of people won't be buying that. The other one is there is no LTE support or 5G support with this, which would have been nice. And there's no GPS support. But I don't think those two things most people won't even care about. Apart from that, I mean, you've got a thin, slim build, amazing JBL speakers, decent battery life, the 90 Hz screen. It really is an all-rounded great package, and this one does come highly recommended from me. This, I think, is the best so far for the price. Definitely what you're getting on offer here from Lenovo. So they have pretty much done it. There's nothing I could really think of to improve that, just those minor things that I mentioned there. One other thing to point out, it seems that there is the wide Vine Level 1 cert, but Netflix, more Amazon Prime Video, doesn't seem to use a high bit rate when you're watching the content. It looks to me like it's definitely not standard definition, because when it starts out streaming, it looks all blocky, and then it goes to HD, and it looks like it goes to 1080p, but it's just not quite as good as it could be, say, on the Samsung Galaxy S7 Plus. So it's another tablet I've also reviewed in the channel, so make sure you check that out. And thank you so much for watching this review here of the Lenovo P11 Pro.